Hey everybody, in this video we are going to practice a PSAT test, the no calculator portion. When you do your PSAT test, it's always going to start with this formula sheet. You may use one or two of these formulas, you may not need to use any of them at all. So let's jump right into number one. Madison leaves her house and bikes north at a constant speed of 10 miles per hour. If her dad leaves the same house 2 hours later, driving north at a constant speed of 15 miles per hour, how long will it take him in hours to reach Madison? So here's one way we can find out. We can just say Madison rides for 1 hour and she goes 10 miles. Her dad got 0 miles in that hour. She rides a second hour. She has now gone a total of 20 miles. Her dad has still gone 0 miles. After the third hour, she has gone 30, and her dad has now gone 15. That's his first hour. Okay, then after 4 hours, she's gone 40. Her dad has gone 30. After 5 hours, Madison has gone 50. Her dad has gone 45. After 6 hours, Madison has gone 60 miles, and her dad has gone 60 miles. It will take 6 hours of Madison riding, but it says how many hours will it take him, her dad, to reach Madison? It takes him 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of riding to catch Madison. If x minus 1 times x plus 4 equals 0, what are the values for x? A value of 1 would make this factor a 0. A value of negative 4 would make this factor a 0. So I've got 2 and 4. That is option B. Bats detect the locations of objects bouncing sound waves off of objects in a process known as echolocation. The speed of a sound wave is approximately 350 meters per second. A bat emits a sound wave towards a tree 525 meters away. What time in seconds will it take for the sound wave to reach the tree? So it's going 525 meters to reach the tree, and it goes 350 meters per second. Okay, so it's 525 meters, and it goes 350 meters per second. Now, I don't know exactly what that is. I could probably simplify it, but really quickly, I know this is bigger than 1. Okay, so it's not 0.5, it's not 1, but 350 times 2 is 700, so it's not as big as 2, so it must be 1.5. An engineer determined that a bridge he is designing has a maximum stability when its length L, width W, height H are defined by the equations above. If he wants to build a bridge with a height of 9 meters, what should be the length of the bridge in meters? Okay, so it is going to have a height of 9 meters. I can put that right here for H, and I can figure out what W will have to be. So 9 equals 3 times W, and I can divide by 3 and get W is 3. Okay, now I can put that here for W and get L. So what we're looking for is the length. So I want L, so I put the 3 in for W equals L over 8. And multiply both sides by 8, and I get L is 8/16/24. Option B. And we'll go on to page 2 then. Number 5, if the sum of two consecutive integers is 15, what is their product? So consecutive integers means one right after the other. The two consecutive integers that add up to 15 are 7 and 8. So what is their product? So that means multiply them. 7 times 8, and 7 times 8 is 56. Option C. Which of the following describes the chart above? Okay, so I've got 3 equations here with an x squared. Those would be parabolas, and one with an x, that would be a line. Okay, so if we find this to be linear, we know it's B. If we find it to be a parabola, we know we can eliminate B. Okay, so let's make a graph. So the farthest it goes left is -3. The farthest it goes right is 1. It goes up as high as 8 and down as low as -1. So we've got points at -3, 8, -2, 3, -1, 0, 0, -1, and 1, 0. Okay, so it looks like we're graphing a parabola here. So I can eliminate B as an option, okay, because it has to have an x squared in it. Okay, now this is a parabola shifted down 1 unit, so it's a parabola down 1, option C. Number 7. In DNA sequencing, a machine is able to identify the sequence of units of DNA called base pairs. It costs approximately 10 cents to sequence 1,000 base pairs. If an investigator would like to sequence a gene consisting of 120,000 base squares or base pairs from each of 100 samples, how much would it cost for him to obtain the sequences? So let's see how many base pairs that's actually going to be. It's 120,000 base pairs from 100 samples. So I'm doing 120,000 times 100 base pairs. 120,000 times 100, and that is, I'm just going to actually tack on 2 zeros here. So 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then tack on 2 more zeros. So I'm actually doing 12 million total base pairs. Okay, now the cost is 10 cents for every 1,000. So if I divide this by 1,000, it will be 10 cents times that number of thousands. Okay, so 12 million divided by 1,000, and I can cancel out some zeros here, and it's 12,000 sets of 1,000. Okay, and then I'll multiply that by 10 cents. Okay, so that's 12,000. Oh, except I have one decimal there, so I need to move the decimal in a spot, so it's actually 1,200. It's going to cost $1,200. Which of the following is a correct solution here, a correct value of x? Okay, so now I've got two options. I can either solve this equation, or if I'm not sure how, I can guess and check. Let's try that. So I'll just plug in a 3. And if it works, I circle it and I move on to the next problem. If it doesn't work, I cross it out and I move on to the next option. So I've got 2 times 3 squared minus 3 equals 15. 3 squared is 9, so that's 2 times 9 minus 3 is 15. 2 times 9 is 18 minus 3 equals 15. And that's true. 18 minus 3 is 15, so 3 is the correct answer. Just make sure you remember order of operations. You do exponents before you do multiplication, so that's why we did 3 squared first. Then we do multiplication or division before we do addition or subtraction. Multiplication here, and then our subtraction. Okay, so we'll move on to our next page with number 9. The velocity of a ball that is thrown upwards is represented by this equation where v is the velocity, t is time in seconds. After how many seconds does the velocity of the ball become 0? Okay, so that means I can put a 0 here for v. So 0 equals -5 t squared minus 20t plus 60. Okay, now I want to factor this equation so I can solve it. The first thing I'm looking for is a greatest common factor that I can divide out of all 3 terms, and that would be -5. So 0 equals -5 times, and then I divide all 3 terms by -5. And I get t squared, and then -20 divided by -5 is plus 4t, and then 60 divided by -5 is -12. Okay, so I get 0 equals -5 times, and I'm going to factor this trinomial into 2 binomials by looking for 2 numbers that multiply to make -12 and add up to 4. So we'll multiply to C and add up to B, and those 2 numbers are going to be 6 and negative 2. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. 6 plus negative 2 is 4. So I have t plus 6 and t minus 2. Okay, so t plus 6, t minus 2. So now I can get my two solutions. T is negative 6 to make this factor 0, and t is positive 2 to make this factor 0. All right, negative 6 seconds, that's not possible, but positive 2 seconds is. So 2 seconds is how long it will take for the velocity of the ball to become 0. Number 10, if x equals 4y plus 3 and y equals negative 2x minus 3, what is the value of x times y? So first we need to find the value of x and the value of y. Then we need to multiply them together. Okay, so I can solve this. This is a system of equations. I've got two equations here with two variables, and I can solve with substitution. I can take this value of y and put it right here. So x equals 4 times negative 2x minus 3 plus 3. So I've just taken out this y and substituted this value for y. So x equals negative 8x, distributing here, minus 12 plus 3. I can add 8x, and I get 9x equals negative 12 plus 3 is negative 9, and I can divide by 9 and get x equals negative 1. Okay, so there is my value of x. Now I need a value of y. So I will put this value of x right here and get y equals negative 2 times negative 1 minus 3. So I took out the y or the x here and replaced it with negative 1. So I get y equals negative 2 times negative 1 is 2 minus 3. So y is negative 1. So x and y are both negative 1. Now it says here, what is the value of x times y? X times y is negative 1 times negative 1, which is positive 1, option C. The graph above could be a representation of which of the following equations? Okay, it is not linear, so this first power x, that's no good. I'll throw that out right away. Okay, now it looks like it's shifted a little bit to the right and down to get this vertex right here. Now this right here, y equals x squared, that's not shifted left or right at all. So that would have its vertex at the origin. This right here, this plus 1 inside the parentheses means it's shifted right 1. And this minus 9 means it's shifted down 9. And that could be a representation of that equation. Option C. And we'll move on to our next page now with number 12. If 3 to the 2x plus 2 power equals 27 to the second power, what is the value for x? Okay, so I've got a base 3 over here and a base 27 over here. I don't like that. I want them to be the same base. But I do know that 27 is the same as 3 to the third power, 3 times 3 times 3. So I'm going to change this to 3 to the 2x plus 2 power equals 3 to the third power squared. Okay, so 3 to the third power is 27. I've just made it now so I have the same base on both sides. Now when I raise a power to a power, so 3 to the third power to the second power, that is the same as multiplying those powers. So it's 3 to the sixth power equals 3 to the 2x plus 2 power. Now when the bases are the same, that means these exponents are the same. So 2x plus 2 is equal to 6 minus 2. 2x equals 4, and divided by 2, x equals 2. Option C. The value of k in terms of a. So in other words, what is the value of k? Solve for k. I want to get k by itself. So the first thing I can do is square both sides of this equation. And that cancels out that radical. So I get 12 times the square root of k equals, and then I square both parts here, and that would be 36a squared. Okay, now to get k by itself, I can divide by 12 and get the square root of k equals 36 divided by 12 is 3, so 3a squared. Now to get rid of this radical here, I can square both sides again, and that cancels out that radical, so I get k equals, now I square both sides here, 3 squared is 9, a squared squared, a to the second power to the second power, I multiply those powers and get a to the fourth power. 9a to the fourth power is k. That is option D. Okay, next we are going to the free response section where we put our answers in a grid. In these grids, you can use slashes for fractions. There's options for decimals. Okay, so you can type in fractions like this and decimals like this. We won't use mixed numbers. It'll be either fraction or decimal form. Okay, so on to number 14. If the sum of the even integers between 1 and k inclusive, so that means it includes 1 and it includes k, is equal to 2k, what is the value of k? Okay, so the lowest even number between 1 and anything is going to be 2. Okay, 1's not an even number, so we go to 2. So the sum of the even numbers, so let's say we add 2 and 4. Okay, so 2 and 4 are two even numbers. I will add those together and get 6. Now, is that sum equal to the last even number, which we'll call k, times 2? So this number right here, 4 times 2 is 8. All right, so the sum of these numbers and the last number times 2 are not equal. Okay, so we want this sum to be equal to 2 times the last number, 2 times k. So let's add another even number. So 2 plus 4 plus 6. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 6 is 12. Okay, so there's the sum of these even numbers. K is the last even number, that is 6. Now if I take that 6 and multiply it by 2, I get 12. Okay, so here the sum of these even numbers is 12, and the last even number times 2 is also 12, so that means k is this number right here, 6, the last even number. K is 6, so in the grid we would put 6. Number 15, if a is a non-zero digit in the numbers 1a, 2a, and a31, what is the value of a when 1a, 2a plus a31 is 2,659? Okay, so that means that we are adding these numbers, 1a, 2a plus a31, and we get an answer of 2,659. So a plus 1 is 9. What plus 1 is 9? That would be an 8. So if I put an 8 here, I've got 8 plus 1 is 9. 2 plus 3 is 5. Now if I use that same 8 here and here, 8 plus 8 is 16. So I have a 6 here and carry the 1. And 1 plus 1 is 2. So a must equal 8. All right, on number 16, we have f of x equals x squared plus d, and g of x equals 2x squared, where d is a constant. If f of g of 2 over f of 2 is 4, find the value of d. So we're going to have to find out what f of g of 2 is and what f of 2 is. So in the numerator, let's start on the inside and work our way out. G of 2, so that means right here, g of 2, we put a 2 in for x, so we have 2 times 2 squared. Okay, we do exponents before multiplication. 2 squared is 4, so it's 2 times 4. So g of 2 has a value of 8. Okay, so what we're really finding then is f of 8. So we've got f of 8 over f of 2 equals 4. Now, f of 8 means we're going to put an 8 right here for x. So we've got 8 squared plus d over, and then f of 2, we'll put a 2 right here, 2 squared plus d equals 4. Now we can simplify these exponents. 8 squared is 64, 64 plus d. 2 squared is 4, so that's 4 plus d equals 4. Okay, now I can take this right here and multiply it over to the other side. So I've got 64 plus d equals 4 times 4 plus d. And we'll distribute this 4. So 64 plus d equals 16 plus 4d. Then we can subtract d from both sides. We can also subtract 16 from both sides. Okay, so 64 minus 16, that's 48. And 4d minus d is 3d. Okay, so we've got 48 divided by 3. And this is no calculator, so we have to be able to do this in our head. 48 divided by 3 is 16. So d is 16. So that is what will go in our grid. And our last problem here, we've got a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So I've got a 90 and a 30. That means this one has to be 60. So it's a 30, 60, 90. What is the length of segment AC? So segment AC, I'll call that X. Now back on page 1, we did have special right triangles. And the 30, 60, 90 comes in the ratio of x, 2x, and x root 3. And I usually just call that 1, 2, root 3. Okay, so across from the shortest, the smallest angle is the shortest leg. That's 1. So I'm just going to say that's over 1. The longest of those, the numbers are 1, 2, and root 3. The shortest is 1. The longest is 2. So that goes on the hypotenuse. So 2. And then root 3 here on the medium side. So I'm just going to turn this into a proportion. 160 is to 1 as x is to 2. And I can cross multiply, and I get 1x equals 160 times 2. That is 320.